Hey, I'm Brian Fleck. Welcome to the Prophetic Edge. I'm your host, and this is another episode of Flipping the Tables. In this episode, we're going to talk about the pitfall of the call, or pitfalls of the call. Number 2, persecution and spiritual abuse. As prophetic people, as prophets, mainly prophets, you are going to experience spiritual abuse. Jeremiah was beaten, he's thrown in a cistern, he was mocked, imprisoned. John the Baptist, he was imprisoned and then killed. Prophets are dealt with harshly in the Bible, and still, listen, I'm not talking about that you're not going to be sawn in half, most likely, but the spiritual abuse and punishment that's going to come to you is going to try and shut you down, put you in a box, put you on the bench because you're not aligning, you're not doing things properly, you're not talking the way that we talk, you're not fitting into our culture. Listen, as prophets, we're not meant to fit into any culture except kingdom culture. If it's kingdom culture, there'll be space available for you. If it's man culture, you're going to have some really rough seasons going forward because they're not going to let. I'm not talking about immaturity. Listen, immaturity is one thing, being corrected and dealt with, but even that, God is a good God. We don't need to beat our younger prophets over their malfunctions, right? Number 3 is isolation. Having a prophetic call sometimes means walking a very lonely path. I did. When I was in high school, I didn't understand why I always was alone. I didn't understand why I had friends, but I just didn't connect fully. I didn't have that like best buddy or the group that we would hang out with all the time. I have friends, I would hang out with them. I would go, we'd go do things, but just I always found myself alone, walking the halls alone. Even after high school, I found myself always being alone, sometimes depressed because I didn't understand, like, where are my friends? Where's my buddies that I'm supposed to be hanging out with? But it prepared me. It prepared me for what God was going to eventually call me to. Listen, sometimes, number 2, people can't relate to the experiences. Being lonely, people won't relate to some of the experiences in the depth at which God takes you to. I've had supernatural encounters and experiences where people just went, and I was told many times that what was happening was not God. But you know what? In my heart, I knew it was wrong. I knew what was the experiences I had was God. And I'll maybe go into some of those more deeply at another time. But spiritual loneliness is a real part of it. You can't, it's part of the territory. It doesn't mean that you don't have relationships, like I said. It just means that, you're going to be sequestered a little more with God. Number 4, spiritual responsibility. Listen, closing out, we have a responsibility ultimately to God and to God's heart. It is our job to not only speak God's word, but know his heart, and our heart should be transformed into his heart. Every message delivered and every correction given carries a weight, the weight of heaven. And you can't prophesy the heart of God if you have an opinion about somebody or people. You just can't. Or you have to be willing to be able to put aside the things that God has called you to in order to address a region, an area, a church, people, etc. And lastly, Proverbs 29:18 says, where there is no vision, people cast off restraint. That word for vision is actually prophetic revelation. That's what it means. We have a responsibility to deliver the revelation and the insight that God is giving to us to people. And when we do that, it should cause a shift, it should cause growth, it should cause change. That's the whole point. So part of our job is from Ephesians 4 is to help edify, build up the church, and to bring them into maturity. But sometimes we're not received, you're not received, and that's okay. Like I said before, if you're still standing, you still have a call on your life. So hey, until next time, I'm Brian. See you later.